All right, we have Scott with us today. Mr. Scott Griffin is a part of the Freedom Club with me. We met through just a fantastic group of people, like-minded individuals, most of us. And so Scott has come on today. Thank you so much, Scott. We really, really appreciate it. And we know so
It
much.
was great to be here.
Yeah, man. We want to talk with you today about something you are very passionate about, and it's just mindset and positivity. Scott is one of the most powerful people by way of using a smile. That's the way that I noticed him. I'm telling you, man, it's a good thing. It's powerful. You have a presence when you walk into a room, and you feel better. So those people that are uplifters are few and far between. I'd consider you one. And
Thank you.
I just want to see what you're doing to help those around you right now. To date this, we're hopefully emerging from COVID and getting back into whatever the new normal will be. But how are you staying positive, and how are you helping those around you stay positive? And what have you even seen as a result of those people putting a smile on?
Well, I love it. And Mike, isn't it true? And don't you also agree that in life, others are attracted to joy? I mean, joy is such a powerful energy, and I don't think it's easily found. I think most of us growing up were trained to learn how to find the problems quickly, right? When the teacher's correcting the papers, it was the 4 questions wrong written in red, not the 20 that we got correct. And so we've been trained to find fault rapidly in life. And I've learned that, well, when we focus on something, all of a sudden we find it, because I think it's all out there to be discovered. So here's what I've done. I think how we get brought up in life is something we don't get to control. But inner thought is self-made. I bet all of those understandings of before matter to shape self-thought. I believe that. But I also believe that self-thought is trainable, almost like going to the gym. And that when you go to the gym, you can get a fitness program. And they'll teach you how to build the body stronger, better, leaner, to actually get something you're seeking to do, because there's a design for you and I as a person to get there. It takes consistent behavior patterns that probably weren't present before you requested the change. But the change happens through the power of consistent behavior. And so I think if we're people that believe that self-thought creates the way we show up in life, because life is about the perception we have, well, then how do you change self-thought? Well, it came to me. It was in my late 20s, and it happened in a rather dark space in my personal life. Bold enough to interrupt my normal. And in the interruption, there were life lessons earlier that I started practicing. Mike, it was appreciation. And I went deep because I was dark enough to build anything up from. Even breathing easily was a moment to appreciate. I started as easy as I could. And Mike, I literally made it into an exercise regimen of stopping in the day to find something to appreciate. And what I discovered, like going to the gym, is that at the beginning it was hard. It wasn't natural yet. I'd never lifted the weight in that way before. I'd never even engaged the machines before. So it's new at the beginning. Isn't everything I didn't do before new at the beginning? But if I'm willing to commit to consistent routine, then I have the ability to reshape what wasn't normal before. And mindset is one of those. Myself, I found the path to do it by pausing to appreciate. And as I said earlier, I went with breathing. I found things like movement of my body, my hand. I could lift things. I could dig a hole in the ground. I was building a patio at the time. So I was thinking about the ability to hammer the nail into the wood. And then I would go deeper to think, well, who invented the nail? And whoever discovered that wood would support the house. And what engineer went back there and said we needed this many posts? And who the hell created concrete? And I would go as deep as I could. And I found that the deeper I was willing to go, the more appreciation was unlocked to be discovered. And as I discovered it, I found a new spirit to show up next with. And it wasn't the one of the things that weren't working. Instead, it was appreciating that somebody else was willing to do something I hadn't done yet. And because of what they did, tar was created, roads are made, we can drive on it. I mean, we can grab any story, I believe, and find a moment to appreciate. But I don't think we've been programmed organically to do that. So if you turn it into an exerciser and can get a trainer or a coach, like a life coach, to help reprogram self-thought, well then dang, I discovered that everything's possible, even if you don't have the tools that says you have the right to have it. I've learned it doesn't necessarily matter. I've discovered that people are highly attracted to passionate energy, and that those that show up in life passionately often do so with others alongside with them, supporting the journey of whatever it is they might get focused on. And well, my goodness, look, I'm getting goose pimples. And it's because of the power that lives in that moment. So you asked me about the nows. I want to tell you that's the how. That was my method of reprogramming self-thought to find a better spirit to build next from. And then I bring it to the right nows. And here's what I've learned in the last few years, Mike. I found a more passionate, more powerful, more energetic version of myself by spending time in the mornings. And I give myself a minimum, well, it's now about 3 hours to 4 hours, but at the beginning it was 2. And I'm walking. I'm literally waking up earlier than my average normal from before, and I created a new behavior change. And Mike, in the change, what I found was the opportunity to reflect. When I gave myself a moment to just pause, to self-reflect on what I've already accomplished, oh wow, I found a whole new version to get excited about. And on these walks, you get a lot of self-time. And when it's nice and early, you can be available to not responding to people because they're not responding to you either. They're probably asleep or having breakfast. What a good time I discovered for self and for self-recognition and discovery and paintbrushing. I love keeping want activated. I've learned that when want is activated, I show up differently because I know that if I do, something else happens next. And I found that want is a great motivator to invite the next. And well, that's my crazy method of how I get there in the nows and what tools I use to build the path. And when I discovered, just like working out, is that the more you do it, the more consistent, it just becomes your new behavior. It becomes easy. You almost feel odd when you're not doing it.
Right.
And so when I'm not even feeling in the mood to walk for hours, shoot, I find myself happy. And you know what else is super cool? You know what I love? You know, when I was a kid, we had like cassette players and little handheld radios to carry around. Now you get the smartphone and your AirPods, and I love the power of music. And I simply changed the music to set the tone of the mood I'm trying to find. Right. And for me, who knew it'd be disco? So I find that I put on some disco music and walk for 2 hours and have my coffee. Exactly, Mike. You do the yes. Life shows up happier because the beat is up and it just makes you smile. And I found that when you start life with a smile, everything next is invited. So you're so cool to make mention of a smile. I started realizing that when I would interact with life and people with the smile first, with the authenticity of why the smile was even present, I think that's what makes a smile powerful, is when it's authentic. I think it's easier to be more authentic in life with others you may or may not know when you spend the time to appreciate. And what you find out was so cool is that you can appreciate that that person that's standing in front of you, whoever they may be at the time, is showing up in their own life. And because they did, you get helped right now for something you want. And without that individual being present in the moment of the right now, your want might not come to you the same way. So you automatically have the ability to authentically create the smile from deep inside when you approach a new moment from that different understanding through the perspective of appreciation. And as you go deeper in life, you'll find it easier to locate. And it will all of a sudden become your new habit. And you will unprogram your youth. But it won't be an easy path. It's not normal for most of us.
But that's how you know you're on the right one. It's not easy. When it becomes easy, you better reassess.
Don't you agree, Mike? Honestly, doesn't life show up differently in the uncomfortable?
And seek it. Or
yeah.
Life's going to make you, do you want to be made uncomfortable, or do you want to find it and push through it? Be ready, acknowledge that it's coming and that it's the path that you should be on, because it's the path that allows you to create who the new you is. Because the you that you are now is awesome, but do you want to be that person forever? Well, no, because success is progress. Progress is success.
Yes. Yeah, oh my God, you know what I love about visiting with you, Mike? We were enjoying it just earlier. I love the depth that you find, and you do it so quickly in just a few amount of words, and you offer the mind to travel inside of the message, and they're really beautiful. You have a very unique gift. I just admire it. I love our visits. I walk away often with a lot of great takeaways to sit with, and they're just really lovely. So, so cool. Well, Scott, yeah, you know what I've learned? It's true, isn't it, Mike? Progress, moving forward. These are all the invitations of exploring tomorrow with.
Yes.
If we keep repeating yesterday, shit. I mean, I guess it's okay. I don't think so. I think it gets beige. I think that if we keep repeating familiar too often because it's where the comfortable lives, it's a way to live life. We all deserve to live life individually. We all see the color blue in our own shade. And I think that life is important to keep that way. But as I say those words for myself, I've discovered more activation available when I keep want available in the spirit of getting something I've not done yet, or I haven't accomplished yet, or even engaged yet. And I find that when that want's not there, and there's been a couple of times where it was hard to find, I found myself showing up different in those days. Mm-hmm. I remember some days, to be quite honest with you, I don't remember getting out of my robe. I was just kind of waking up into the robe, and there it is evening time, and guess who was still in their damn robe? Talking about unmotivated moments of life. I sure have my adult memories of what that feels like. And those are those contrasting moments in life. Otherwise, I can't appreciate the things I appreciate, because then I just take it for granted. And I've learned that when life is dark, it gives you the contrast to really build authentic appreciation from. And I've had a life full of contrast. So I'm fortunate enough to build enough story through to learn that I made it through anyway.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I'd know it if I didn't give myself the time to self-reflect, to discover it. Mm-hmm. The power of self-reflection is bold. And I've learned that it even happens by looking through, I still have some old photo albums, my God, Mike. And I was looking through photo albums, and then all of a sudden I was rediscovering stories of who I was back in my 20s. And I started looking at what was happening around me. I started remembering the car I drove. Mike, I remember the furniture in my apartment, my friend. I remembered a lot of things that related to that period. And then I brought myself to the current moment at life. And I try to remember the thoughts of what I had back then, of who I thought I'd be by now. And they look so different. And I think it's really cool for those of us that can find a path to be more available for change. Mm-hmm. And that life deserves to be discovered. And that there's a lot of things inside of life available for discovery, even though there's so many things inside of it that might feel familiar. And I've learned for myself, Mike, and for our family, that we did an experiment. And for us, it was an experiment of going away. We decided our family would take one adventure a month over one weekend. And we would just go somewhere that we weren't familiar with. It didn't have to be far, it just was somewhere different. And it was inside of the different, Mike, we discovered life looked different. Mm-hmm. And it opened up new thoughts that repeating yesterday's thoughts weren't creating. It was the adventures, the food, the stories, the restaurants, the streets, the avenues, all of the nature around that invited new processes to build tomorrow from, because now I have a new memory. And I find it valuable to step into change. I also find valuable in process and repeating things that work successfully. And I believe that life deserves to have a balance of trying to discover both together. And I don't believe that's an easy discovery. And I think that life deserves challenges, and not everything's supposed to be easy. And I think there's gifts inside of challenges. And if it's bold enough and painful enough, it'll probably interrupt normal. And I've learned inside of the interruption of normal is a new place to build next from. And knowing we only go in these bodies once, I know it's important to be available to build and to continue to be available for something else that we can't control that might show up anyway, like this virus. Mm-hmm. So for me, to be really honest with you, I'll go back just a step, if you'll allow me, before the March shutdown. And I was run over by a vehicle crossing the street here in my local city in Los Angeles in a crosswalk. And that feels so safe in my own mind. My mind tells me I'm in the crosswalk. Of course I have the right to cross. Nobody's going to hit me. Jesus Christ, I'm on the telephone walking with my Starbucks. And instead I got run over. And I literally had surgery and got pretty damaged up. But the second day, I received so many warm wishes of heartfelt thoughts that touched me so deeply that I literally found enough joy to build everything next through, that even the SUV couldn't shut that spirit down in that time. And I don't believe that we in life can be available in our strongest version of self if we don't do the work earlier, right? It reminds me of the Three Little Pigs, and the one that did it with the straw, the bricks, and then the wood, the twigs. And each method was housing. Each housing method resulted in a different experience, and that each one was individually chosen, and that we in life constantly have the right to make a new choice next, even though if it was different than yesterday. And I think we have the right to do that in almost anything, because when we look at life, as long as we're actively alive inside of it, it's often about the choices we make. And we can constantly re-choose to make a new one next. So if we start understanding that, we start realizing we don't have to get stuck in yesterday's understanding. We just simply do something next. And it's like the river that's never the same twice. And I've discovered in life, through those perceptions, through those life understandings, I'll show up differently. And I don't know how that means in life until you get in front of it. So I'm visiting with you as you dated us. We're in June, and I think it's June something, 19th or date 18th, somewhere in June. And the run over was the first week of February. I came back the first week of March thinking I had the right to, silly me, and only to be shoved back in the house with the virus. And now here we are, and my hands moving again, and my spirit's bright. The light never shut off. And I don't know if that would have been available if I wasn't doing the work earlier. And I started the work just in one day. And I think it could be any day we choose to invite something different will be the day for us if we ever find that day. And I think that that day will look different, and it's supposed to. I mean, we're all people living together on the same master planet, but we're all doing it individually. And nobody has the right to force thought onto each other. And then we remove the individuality of how make life so darn beautiful. But I do invite us to believe that there's a path available that may not look presently available, but I've self-discovered you can have it anyway. And I don't know many places in my own personal life I can't find a way to attach that story to.
Yeah.
And Mike, that's pretty powerful when you grow up being a foster kid, put in boys' homes and institutions, moved around year to year from the age of 8, never knowing how you're going to fit inside of life, no traditional tools to build tomorrow from, like not really many at all, a mind that's full of anger, and there's levels of really heavy emotions that aren't fully organized yet, that were built because you really weren't wanted and loved. And that's a powerful feeling at any age to go through. And I assure you, at the age I entered, it was really effective. It was powerful. And I didn't know how I would find a path in life. And I suggest, if I've been able to unlock fantasies, I believe everybody has the right to do it. And I don't think that we have to have any uniquely special skills that somebody else doesn't have, because I have a funny feeling that all of us have our self stories of things that we have the right to appreciate that belong to us as the individual that did them. And even if it was a struggle we made it through, and we reflect on the making through the struggle, we take witness that it didn't shut us down. We're literally still here tomorrow. We're probably going to be eating lunch or dinner in just a few hours next. And what a beautiful story to share. You and I know not everybody shares that on the same master planet. Some are still hunting for dinner to come someday soon. I mean, when we look in life, we discover there's so many layers out there. When we discover life's beauty inside of the layers, even the ones we haven't seen yet. So I filter life as best as I can, Mike, and I make it a purpose through exercises first that guided me on the path of the how-to. I filter life by not focusing on the negatives, even though they affect me. It didn't feel good getting run over by the SUV. It didn't feel good, and none of that was the feel good, not a piece of it. But it was the contrast that life needs to let you know that you're really living it. And that every moment inside of it, we don't get the right to control them, but they're valuable even when they don't feel good. That's what I've learned, my friend.
And I would say anybody listening to this can digest that and take it to use however they can or how is appropriate in their lives. But I think the most powerful thing here, God, there's so many nuggets there. There's so much that you can go back and take from that. But it's showing up prepared for life to come, because it will keep coming. Make sure you have the right mindset to allow it into your life and to find the good, focus on it to create more good, because you know, thoughts become things, right? And what you focus on, me and you talked again before we started recording. I mean, it is incredible to me to be conscious, to be present, and to know these things are coming. And I get daily reminders that thoughts become things. I think things and then people say them, or it happens like quickly. And, you know, I want to make sure that I stay in that space, you know, and I like tattoos, but I have gratitude here. And I have now here. So appreciation, gratitude, but it's like you said, find something that is easy for you to appreciate. And maybe you didn't know it was easy before. Breathing, right? Getting up, saying, hey, thank you, pillow. That was nice. I appreciate that. That was
literally as simple as that.
and then, you know, put the right foot down, put the left foot down, and then thank you, whatever it is. Be grateful, because when you come from a place of appreciation, man, life looks cool. And
do you know what else I've learned too, Mike? Not only does it look cool, people come along to help you make it look better. You're not left standing alone. And I've learned, Mike, that no matter what we do here, you and I are in real estate. In a professional spirit, we give our talent to the art of people getting success in home ownership.
Correct.
And the people we affect on a regular basis has that similar spirit attached to it. What a great spirit to attach to. I believe that everything is possible. I believe that everything that we do in life unlocks everything next. I love that we show up in a time, Mike, that connects to that very special moment in a person's root to their community. Home ownership has such an incredible feeling. I think for most of us, that's familiar. And to be invited to be of any part of that story is, well, for me, it's really beautiful. It's found a way for me to fall in love passionately inside of the industry. I discovered it wasn't just about the lending instrument itself, knowing that well, we represent the mortgage side, the financing side of how we get home ownership. But wasn't it really that because of this story, we get to activate memories now immediately? We didn't have to wait like some countries do, where they have to save the money before they can become a homeowner because financing is very hard to come by. In America, it's become so awesome that we can get it be simple, that real estate can be handed down generationally. I thought it was that way everywhere. As I started investigating life, you discover no, it isn't. In fact, in a lot of countries, they're based on life estates, a certain term, and that's all you get. Isn't that amazing to see how we get to live in life? And the way that we show up just starts feeling familiar, and we sure ought to. But in the spirit of gratitude, we get people to support us, to bring us solutions and strategies that make us look different than everybody else we might be competing against.
Yes.
Like your buyers, Mike, that work with you and your partners that you team up with, getting buyers into real estate. Well, they're successful because your underwriting is successful, because you put strategies in place that invite success from the time you start hello. And I remember sitting outside with you at one of our great evening events in Florida, it was, and it was one of our first hellos getting to know each other. And I was just loving, you were sharing with me all of these processes and methods and the tools you empower. And I was just sitting there just appreciating the passion you have in an industry that for some, they just show up to work.
Right.
And some people are at work. And then there's these crazy people like you that don't even think they're working. And it's felt by the people you empower. And it's so impressive. It's so fun to take witness, because I love your willingness, Mike, to show yourself to the world. And you do it through video. You do it through social marketing. You do it by empowering. But what I love about getting to know you better is that it's not just the empowering, but you do it from the place where dreams are built from. What the listeners right now don't know about was our previous conversation, and it was me appreciating you being so consistent online Facebook and a social presence through a hobby space, through something you hold so dear in your own family that relates to Mother Nature, to earth, to nurture, to gardening.
Yeah.
And it's hobbies, it's dreams. And I think many of us dream about home and visualize the garden that's in the backyard, that's going to nourish the family that has the home. Everybody's dreams look different, but I love that you come from the spirit of where dreams are built. different layers of life dreams, even if they're hobbies.
Sure.
Life is just spectacular. And so for those listening, that was kind of our beginning moments. You should have been on the call. It was fun. It was each other, appreciating each other. And that's the power of passion.
Yeah.
It's passionate people attracting passionate people. And I find in life that we attract whatever it is we're focused on. And that can change as how often our focus changes. So if we weren't focused on it before, that doesn't mean we can't have it tomorrow. Boy, I'll tell you, I've got so many stories in my own life where beautiful was existing and then it got ugly and then it was refound again.
Yeah.
And there's so many layers of that starting early in life throughout. And I think that's the path, isn't it? It's where it stays interesting. And aren't we taught to try to control every moment? And if we only could, God, it'd be better. Well, I don't know if that's true. And I think if I could predict everything, eventually it would just be uncomfortably boring.
Yeah.
Because I already know what's coming. But you can't.
You know what?
The pandemic proves it.
And people that, you know, are listening, if you're a realtor, if you're a loan officer, if you're in sales, what I found very intriguing is that if you go back to your pipeline, right? Let's say you're closing whatever it is, you're closing 5 loans, you're closing 100. If you look at them and you have a 30-day span or maybe a 60-day span that those people were created and put into the pipeline, if you identify what type of character is in your pipeline, you can figure out where your focus was at the time. Have I been consistent? Do I have easy peasy, very cool clients? Everything's gravy? Or do I have problems? People are not, you know, satisfied or otherwise giving us some trouble. Maybe my focus wasn't as clear, or maybe the focus of our communication wasn't as clear or positive, but we can learn from those people. And I've seen my pipeline get so much easier and consistent when I've been taking the time to not only control my own thoughts, but then focusing on the team and making sure that we're all aligned and checking in on each other, making sure we're good, because outside forces are what typically throws us off track, and the power is getting back on. But I really feel that anybody, if you want to be happy and you want to transact with people that are grateful to be in the process and that are responsive, then be responsive, be grateful to be in the process, be grateful to have them as a client. If you have one client, you're used to 50 and you have one, you should be even more grateful. Not like, oh, Jesus, I just got one. One could be 50. You don't know who that one is, but treat them like they're the prince of you know, whatever.
That's right.
And
That's right.
you will attract more people that are grateful to have you available in your service. And then you can put in systems and processes to show people on social media that you really are available and passionate.
That's
and
right.
People that are passionate and available are going to show up. So you do control, like you said, the change. When do you do it? When do you do it? You do it now. And if you don't like what's going on right now, then make the change now. If you like what's going on, then make it consistent now. Recognize what you're doing and then keep doing it and progress in how much you do it. And it just more of it, whatever it will do or whatever it is will come. And one other thing before I lose the thought, before you had said the thing that's like, you know, the wins in life, or focusing on the things that you are doing correctly, or you can acknowledge that you're grateful for, like breathing. And reflecting back, yeah, it's important to understand what you failed at. That's where most of my lessons have come from, is how I fail forward and learn from it. But is whatever you're good at, whatever you love, your passions, your hobbies, maybe it is your work, your finance background, your ability to serve in the way of like managing emotions and personalities and expectations, whatever it is, dive into that, get involved with your community, your church, your kids' baseball, soccer teams, your art classes, your whatever it is. There's a community that would love to have you in it and your information and share. And guess what? Those people are probably going to be a whole lot of fun to hang out with. And if you know that you actually have a real job and it's a realtor or a lender, they're going to be like, well, shit, man, let's do this thing we love. And then here's like my docs or whatever. And like, just tell me how we get to the closing table. Like it ends up not being a sale. You're just available enjoying, smiling, attracting, and, oh, I can sell you that. I can help you with that. Whatever. Things start happening.
And you know what's so cool too, Mike? I love what you highlight. You know what's so cool? It reflects back on the visit we just had before we started hitting the record button. And you and I were visiting. And Mike, we were visiting, and I was thinking about, boy, if I had like a message, if somebody would have told me a bit ago, if you could give me like a shortcut,
Yeah.
like a jump start to how I could activate quickly to get a result swiftly and create new interactions that I wasn't building from before. And the answer hit me the moment the question was being shaped, because I was asking myself the question out loud in our phone visit. And I don't know if I shared with you the answer. I'd love to do it now if I may. And you know what's so super cool too about the answer, Mike? You know what's so super duper cool? It's how you and I first met. That's my answer. That we first met, my friend, if you'll remember, at this event. And I was outside. I just came from my room, and I was walking back to the front, and I heard great energy over there by the fire. And I'm like, wow, I want to see what's happening over there. And I ended up saying hello, and I had just got done in my hotel room creating a video to a realtor I had never met before. And I did it through an online solution called BombBomb. And BombBomb is a very affordable platform that makes it super easy to create a self-administered video. And I don't know administered is the right word, but it just means I didn't have to hire a cameraman. I held the phone out to myself, and I used the front-facing camera, and the software made everything work terrifically. And what I did is I sent a personal message to the person I had never spoken to before. And I was so excited about the message I was sharing that the camera was able to capture its excitement in the message itself. And the response from the person receiving the message was immediate, and it had such a high level of joy attachment to it. I've learned in life that we don't always remember what's said in a conversation, but we often remember how we feel. And so in this moment, I can't even sit here today and I can tell you who the buyer was, because the moment was memorable, because I met you, Mike, and it started off our whole conversations that whole evening. And it was such an awesome, memorable night, still stands strong to my memories today. But it started off with sharing the story with you about how this lady just interacted with me and how I just did it up in my room on BombBomb. So I would suggest probably the most proactive thing that you and I in the industry of real estate, whether it's in sales or lending or really anywhere in the spirit of serving others and getting them their home, do a video.
Yeah.
That's what I've learned. Here's what I've discovered. Nobody reads the bloody emails. It's like spam and the things in the mailbox, and there's all these cool snazzy things. But do you know what the most snazziest thing of all?
You.
Well, you are. At the end of the day, it's your spirit, whoever you are. It's whatever your loves and passions are in life. And it's going to show up in how you show up. And the person that you're connecting with is going to feel that differently, that type text can't share. And I've learned that the more you make yourself available in a memorable way, the more you'll be remembered. Life is often forgettable. Don't be forgettable. Be spectacularly different than most. Be available for something you didn't do before. I bet something new happens because of it.
Yes.
I hadn't done the BombBomb work before. I wasn't comfortable with the camera. Do you know what I learned that works the best? Don't look at your recordings.
Yes.
Just send the damn thing. Of course it looks terrific. It's you telling them something they want to know about.
Yes.
Terrific. They're going to love it.
Yes.
Send it. Don't review it. Don't critique it.
Yes.
Simply do it more often. I've learned that simple, uncomfortable change will dynamically impact your results immediately.
Yes.
Most of everything we do in real estate sales happens through technology delivery. We no longer, I'll never forget Roddy. I just love him. Roddy, I had first met him, one of the most powerful realtors here nationally. My God, I was visiting with Roddy, and he tells me that first day he was transferring from another state here to LA. And I had asked Roddy, well, how are you going to bring your same talent that you did so well in those zip codes over there and make it work the same in the competitive city of LA? And do you know what he told me, Mike? He says, Scott, we don't sell real estate in PTA meetings anymore. And I'm like, well, that's really interesting. I guess so. That's true. The internet's really present. Yes. And what I discovered very quickly is that most of us interact in current life through the most convenient path available for us to travel on, because life is busy. Yes. And we're activated from so many different senses now than in the befores. And so I find that consumers, no matter who we are, and professionals of industry, love the power of technology's convenience. In the olden days, we really did sell in PTAs. It's true. We really did sell homes in the local grocery stores and market spaces and shook hands with everybody. And no, the internet was not there. We didn't have email, and all that stories are true. But in the modern world, convenience is king, and technology is how we activate it. And so when I've learned the video is all of a sudden, if y'all ever read that book, what's that book, that really good one that Seth wrote, The Purple Cow? And it was talking about driving through the fields, and all of a sudden the cows looked so interesting. But they kept driving and driving and driving, and all of a sudden it was just more cows. And it was just miles of the cows, and they just stopped being interesting anymore. Then all of a sudden there was a purple cow, and that cow was stood out amongst all the other cows in the field. And might you say, because of life expanding over time, whatever industry we're in, there's probably more competition than there was yesterday, because people are finding themselves into different professions constantly. And real estate is a very topical profession many folks fantasize of being successful inside of. So I say that on purpose because it's important to become the purple cow. I've learned that BombBomb is a method that allows you instant access to being remembered differently. And I've learned in life that when we do that, we'll be remembered to be available for something next time, even if I didn't get it in the this time. And I often find my way into people's life through their back door. I've learned that if we approach life by always knocking on the front door where everybody else is at, they're not letting you in. Shit, some even have modern security systems. They got cameras. They know before you even show up. But guess where the camera is not?
Yeah.
Well, it's that right. It's not in the backyard, is it? Because the back door is often left wide open. If anything, they might have a screen door. Well, it's much easier to say hello through the screen door, isn't it, than the front door that's locked and bolted with the camera not letting you in. So I find that we can find our way quicker to people when we're authentically available ourselves. Yeah. And when we're authentically available ourselves, the camera will capture the authenticity. And it's inside of the authenticity of self, whoever it is who's in front of that camera, displaying themselves to somebody else, that lets them know that you're passionately involved with your own life and the way that you're showing up inside of it. Well, given a choice of all the other offers they might be looking at, I wonder which one they're in love with already. I have a feeling it's the one that was passionately connected. The purple cow won the deal. That's right. So be different than everyone else. Step into uncomfortable. Don't do it alone. I've learned that life has coaches, mentors available, people to help invite thought that wasn't organically present on its own. We all grow up life differently, and it's in the difference of life that self-thought is created. It's when we find people passionate and sharing great results with each other that we move forward faster. So I've learned in this work of real estate, of self-employment, entrepreneurship, that sometimes we're supported with mentors and coaches to help us see things like BombBomb, help us to see things like podcasting, like what you do, Mike, in your local community there in the beautiful state of Illinois. It's just amazing what's possible to the consumers and the places that get the chance to work with you and your team. I've heard stories from others that worked with your team, and then I've got the chance to know you personally. It makes so much sense to me. And what's so cool when you held up your arm and you showed your tattoos is that this podcast doesn't have time, but you shared with me some of the stories that live in each one of those memories imprinted on your arm, and they're quite beautiful. And well, that's the individuality of life's beautifulness. And it's your kindness that shared it with somebody first that was a stranger, me. And we interacted together in a rather magnificent, unusual way. And a friendship happened that wouldn't normally organically find itself together. Yes. But because we both made ourselves available for something that was different, being available to be a student mind again, even though we're an adult, but to show up that day with the mind that we're just a child, willing to learn something new and being available for the new, allowed you and I a path to discover each other. And they're so odd in their own right, and they're so beautiful in their own right. Yeah. And well, I love life. Isn't it cool?
It is
cool.
Cool.
Yeah,
it is, especially when you're showing up with the smile, because it could be really not cool too. But
that's
like
true.
We've had that part, right? We've had that part. We know what both feels like. So, you know, to go back to the interaction and to tie all that together, like in our industry, it really is a couple of things here that you have to do at the same time. One, be in control of your life, which a great way to do that is to create time. People say they don't have time. Well, you're in control of it. Well, no, this is all, right. This day is slammed. Cool. Wake up earlier. So when you're up earlier though, right. And what you said, I always tell people, they'd be like, why do you get up at 2 o'clock in the morning? And I'm like, well, the world can't get to me then. No one can impact me. There's no influence but what I choose to go grab and put into my mind. So this hasn't always been the case, but I don't watch any TV. I don't watch movies unless they're animated with my kids. But yes, this was a Grant Cardone thing, but he was like, you have something going into your head every single second of every single day. Now, if you choose to put some things in there that help you in the progress of your life, your business, or whatever it is, well, holy shit, isn't that a good choice instead of whatever else it could be? If you got 2 hours to watch the movie and you're not bonding with your kids, well, shit, get the fuck up. 2 hours in your business. Go put 2 hours into figuring out how to be grateful, or go do something and then be grateful for it. But you have time, so make sure that you're using it appropriately. And then technology, right? Some of the time, well, most of the time when you're using your time appropriately and you're grateful in the action, maybe just video it, whatever it might be. You're not doing anything additional, just document it and share it with people so they can see, those that are like-minded, that there's somebody else out there that has similar thoughts or actions, and they are available to service them in the way of real estate or loans or whatever it is that you do. And then have a process, have a system that allows for you to be consistent in showing up in that manner, because not everybody is available for the message at the time that you're putting it out there. Not everybody sees it, so you have to be omnipresent, right? Yeah, use the handwritten notes and show up personally, but then do email, then do text, then do Facebook, then do Instagram, then do TikTok. And if you don't know how to do that and that sounds overwhelming, it is for me too. find somebody that knows how to do that and pay them to do it. Just make sure it gets done. If you can do it and still have time to feed the process with more opportunities, then good for you, and you must be some sort of machine. But if you do it, don't have the time to do it, know you won't be able to do it consistently, it really is, what is the cost of not doing it? Not the
That's
cost
right.
of doing it, because it's not going away. And like you said, it's like journaling in history for the world to see your information that you're putting on video. They're not going to find the blogs and shit that people were doing before. They're going to find video. And if you're perusing through, you're not like, what cool words can I click on? No, I want to see the guy that's doing something goofy in a preview of Bomb Bomb. And that night, when you showed me that video, I want to tell everybody, because I was like on the edge. I'm like, I know I should do video. I suck at video. I hate how I look. Whatever the things were in my head. You came down and you said, you want to see something cool? And I was like, yeah, I want to see something cool. And you're like, this is a response. And first you showed me your video and you're like, I got the ocean in the background. It just so happened I had this scene. I'm like, well, I got that scene up there. And you're like, well, this is what I did. You showed me. And I was like, well, that was fantastic. And then you're like, what's cooler? Let's see the response from her. And you did tell me that you hadn't had any interactions with her prior to this. And
None.
the response for everybody listening was all positive. She goes, hey, I love this. Oh my God. This is so cool. And she's in the background. I mean, you could tell me, I'm sure it was a very expensive property. It was a huge yard in LA, right? Like overlooking the mountains, yada, yada, yada. You said she was a whale, right? She does a lot of business out there, very active in the community. And she, at the end of this video, guys, I was like blown away. She basically said, thank you for this message. This is fantastic. And responded with a video that she said she had never done before. And
That's right.
blew you a kiss. She blew you a kiss at the end of the video. And I was like, wait a minute. What just happened? Because you just talk about skipping the line, sir.
Go right to the back door.
Yeah, that wasn't even the back door. You went down the chimney and provided a Christmas tree and gifts, and you gave them cookies and shit. I mean, when we were talking in that visit about building relationships, you go to these coaching things about building relationships and talking about how that is a way to build a long-standing business, not the one and dones. Well, serve these people. Well, you went from, here's an offer from my client with a piece of paper, pre-approval, Miss Never Met You, to her saying, wow, this is fantastic. You inspired me to send you back a video. I didn't know you could do this, and I'll blow you a kiss. I mean, you went from not knowing them, and I don't even give a shit if you got the deal. You had an opportunity immediately for a relationship, established it, like cemented it. And you could
instantly, right? Literally instantly.
You never even had a conversation with her. It was a video.
Not even a conversation. It was instant. And that's what I meant by getting instant results, by doing things differently.
Yes.
And I had never, ever did anything. And I knew I was going back down. I had just a few moments. And I literally stepped inside of uncomfortable. And I left an authentic message behind. And it was just getting excited about the client being excited about writing an offer on that listing agent's listing, and how awesome is life that tonight is bringing an offer, and it might be the one that sells the deal. And isn't that stupid cool? And so when you think that way, guess what's going to happen when you turn the camera on? It's going to capture all that energy, and that inner story is going to be right there, and then they're throwing you kisses. Right. And it did work, by the way. The answer was, the kisses were the yeses, as the offer was sealed, as they say, with a kiss. The offer was sealed with a kiss. The client was quite successful. And we can use that in all of our practices, because all I did was humanize a humanizing event differently than the email or a phone call only, because they can't see our face on the phone. And everybody listening right now can hear our tonality, our visit, the joy, the other moments. It allows us to listen differently. But for those that can also watch us, And you're probably noticing the back and forth and the eye expressions, the smiles, the other triggers of communication. I've discovered that when you employ all levels in one short moment that's displayed on a handheld device that we're also connected to, and it's just authentic you, people are incredibly attracted to that. I find that they're not attracted to inauthentic.
Mm-hmm.
If you're trying to act or you're trying to say something that doesn't have the inner story present, I've learned that the inner story is wickedly valuable and that the eyes say everything. And the inner story will be sentenced through what your eye language is doing. The camera will pick up the sentences. So make sure your inner story is present before you press record. A phone call doesn't need that. You can use words, but the camera will capture the words and the video. So create the inner story so you can get the results you're looking for. This camera will do the work. You don't need to.
You know what? There's a couple of things I want to say, and I won't take up too much more of your time, Scott, but that night changed my business forever. Because a couple of things, and I think I told you about this before, and I want to say these quick, and I shared most of these with my father as we golfed this morning, just because I was super excited about this, and I wanted to let him know, like, how I was changing as a result of circumstances, like you mentioned before, that otherwise would not have presented themselves, or I wouldn't have taken the opportunity to capitalize on, if you will, to learn, to grow, to meet, to whatever. I mean, I've always been a very personable person, but I wasn't ready to meet somebody like you before we met because you were so sure of yourself. I always was confident, but not understanding who I truly was. And so in that conversation, I doubted myself for the first 3 seconds of meeting you, that I was like, how the fuck am I going to talk to this guy for like a long time? Because you were so intense in your passion for just being you and like meeting people, but it was like 3 seconds. And at 4, 5, 6, I was like, this is fantastic. Who is this fucking guy? But showing up as yourself, and COVID and the shutdown for me, and you know, I didn't have anybody directly affected, but for me, it was a gold lining. I couldn't have asked for a better gift. Going through some other things, this allowed me to focus in and understand the power of communication, both to my children and how to manage a lot of things going on, but also the power of that video. Everybody all of a sudden had to find out what Zoom was, or go to meeting, or some source to be connected to their friends, their family, their work, their school. I mean, my friggin' 5 and 3-year-old are on full classes, and they're talking amongst themselves, and they're doing the thing on the computer. And I'm like, wow, that's crazy. But Scott set me up that night. I was like, I signed up for BombBomb while we were sitting there. I recorded my first video that night to like get it out of the way. I recorded a couple more in the morning, and now I'm past 800 videos on BombBomb. And people are like,
wow, Mike,
do that.
Talk about implementing.
But it was like, what am I doing here? What am I doing here if I'm not going to change? What am I doing here if I'm inspired and I take no action? Inspired action is the most powerful thing you can do. So when you feel that thing in your gut, that thing is the right thing. So just go and do it now. Like, you got to do the shit. Like, you feel these things, go say hi to the person. Yes, pick the piece of paper up or the garbage off the ground. Yeah, put it in the garbage can. That felt right. You should have done the shit. Go back and do it. Like, stop leaving things undone that made you feel, or would have made you feel good, because that's the thing that gets you to the next thing faster. And for me, it was getting my insecurities out, that there was something wrong with not knowing how to do a video. Who knows how to, what way is there to do a video? Just do the video. And I never did watch it, because it was more important to me that I got it there and went on to the next thing. And when you are vulnerable and not perfect, and you are whatever, you are more available to connect with the other people out there, because this came up before. Like, I used to always have the polished suit on, the custom suit, look very nice, very appropriate. What I was getting, some of the feedback was, hey, Mike, like they are impressed with you, but I got to tell you, man, they're intimidated and they don't want to send you deals that are going to be tough on you because they know that your shit's like ironclad and everything's rolling. And they're like intimidated that they might get kind of like slapped on the wrist or something. And I'm like, really? They're like, yeah, they are like so impressed with you that they don't want to send you anything. And I'm like, what the fuck? What does that mean? Well, now, you know, I made a video about like, hey, these are sleeves you probably never saw before, joking around because no one had ever saw my tattoos. I have never had more connection with people. They're like, oh my God, I love those. That's awesome. Where'd you get that? What's it mean? Hurt. All these things where before they might have been like, well, that's a nice suit. He must make a lot of money. I don't really need to help him. Or I don't know what it was.
That's right.
But it doesn't allow for a dialogue. Tattoos, hats, kids jumping up on you, whatever it is that's happening in the life that you are living is what is going to allow for them to connect and for you to move further in it with the people that really are going to be fun to do it with. So for you, I thank you for showing up as you in that meeting and every other time I've ever chatted with you and today, because it inspired me to do the same and to put it on video. And I ask the people that I'm sending them to, whether they're realtors or whatever else, I go, I challenge you, send one of these back. It's pretty easy and you don't got to type anything and you could do it at a stoplight or in line to pick up your kids. And all it is a brain dump. And then you don't have to worry about it. And guess what? Make it evergreen sometimes and send it out to your 600 people in your database and let them all think it's right to the one person. Use technology to do what's right by people and acknowledge them. You don't have time to acknowledge all the people you've helped in your life unless you use technology. And then people have said, oh, well, that's not authentic. What's authentic about not calling them at all? What's authentic about not appreciating them in the way of saying, hey, how you doing? Just thinking about you. Well, I sent it to 1,200 people. Well, were you thinking about them? Well, yeah. Okay. Well, then you did. And you sent it to them. What's inauthentic? Hey, thinking about you. You interested in whatever you do? Real estate, loans?
Well, right. If you just pause and you just say, you know what, here I was walking today and I just stopped to pause. And what I noticed in the pausing were all of the people in my life that make it so darn special. And I wanted to reach out and say hi to you and let you know, well, you're so beautiful for being special. Thank you for participating in the life that I'm a part of. I just wanted to pause to say thank you.
Wow. How about it? And
now, how's that for a quick moment of just really being authentically real and just capture that? So there's nothing for frickin' sale. Yes. Just stop and appreciate. There's so much there to find. Yeah. And I've learned in life that the more authentic you're available, like you said with the sleeves, and please, it's true, isn't it, Mike? People become more available to be authentic back. And that's where life shows up and the authenticity of it all.
I have to say, and we'll close it with this, it is patting myself on the back a little bit, but it's just the practice of doing things now. That's why I have it tattooed, not because I think it's cool. I think it's so important for me to always acknowledge that if I'm not doing it now, it's already too late. Like my mom would always say, Mike, you're such a procrastinator. Just get the shit done. Well, it was like, because at the time, I'm like, I don't want to like actually make my bed. I had magic drawers and dressers. My mom, like all the shit just showed up, cleaned and folded. Like, I'm not really going to do it myself, am I? But when you act now, things start happening for you. And that day, I remember being fearful of what was to come in the shutdown because I was like, well, I'm not going to be getting in a suit every day at work or at home, but I know I got to do videos. What am I going to do? So the first fucking day, the first day I knew we were going into shutdown, I wore regular clothes and I put that video out. And I went like this, and I wanted not be like, I'm going to do these videos and I'm always worried, is my arm in there or something like that? Like I wanted to get the fear out of the way. So I immediately addressed it and just said, hey, I have tattoos. This is what they look like. And you're going to be seeing this for, we don't know, but probably a long time. So here comes some more videos. If you're fearful of something, that is the direction in which you need to go and lead by that. Jump into your fear, into the and in doing so, you have more control of the outcome. Because if you don't, life is going to slap you in the face anyway, and it's not going to be by your choice.
That's the truth. You can find that statement in so much. Boy, I love what you. But I love that life made sure we met each other, Mike. That's what the hell I'm sure grateful for. You have been just as powerful in my life, my friend, and I'm so glad you offer your spirit to others. This podcast is proof of what that feels and looks like. So thank you for being you. Thank you for inviting me today to take part in this with you. I had no idea what would show up. I just knew that it's going to have the right to be awesome.
Yes.
Because that's usually what happens when you and I find our paths together. I love what shows up, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you and you being so open to sharing. If people want to hear more about Scott Griffin or find some of these videos that you've done and get inspiration, how can they find you? How can they get in touch with you?
You know, it's so cool. So many people show up in life that have better talents than I do. There's a company called Lead Pops for those real estate professionals listening to us right now. This company specializes in our brand of industry. Through their technology understandings, I've made it to page 1 of Google. I'm rather easily found. My name's Scott Griffin. And you know what's so cool, you guys? You know what's so awesomely cool? Is that those people that find that you're passionate about you get passionate more to help you. Yeah. That happened with that brand, that Lead Pops brand. Our placement on page 1 of Google has earned us an easy access in a competitive market. And they guided us how to stay there. I have a feeling for all of those listening, that might be a great company if you're in real estate to say hi to get guidance on how to affordably find your space in an online competitive environment, knowing that every new kid tomorrow is going to be more connected to technology than the one from yesterday. So I'm understanding that as a 52-year-old man today on this visit, understanding that the youth of today are so different than I was at their time in life. And I have a feeling as we move forward that continues to reshape. So I think it matters. And I think getting a great space online and finding yourself easily found, reviews are important. I used a secondary company called Signpost. And they helped me to go and stay in contact with the clients we interact to capture their stories for those willing to share their experience with others. I've learned that us in service industries, reviews matter. And that the reviews we get will help us move up in the rankings. And that the lack of reviews may not support our success the same that those that may have more. And as folks go online to search for you, and if they don't find you easily, they're going to find somebody else that is easily found. And then they're going to probably measure the experience, not wanting to, but clicking those other buttons that came up first, to see who those people are and why aren't you there and who are they and why are they there. So I think it's important as we move forward every day tomorrow to find a way more enriched in the platforms that people are connecting you and I through. And I suggest those are in handheld devices and finding your way there with partners that help you to do it affordably. And I've learned that great talent doesn't have to be only expensive. That there's a happy balance when you find passionate folks. And I find that you find them when you go to association meetings. I find that you find them when you join coaching groups. Yeah. I find that you find life differently when you leave your office. When you stop repeating yesterday over and over and over again and do something different tomorrow, something different will show up because of it. So I say those companies out loud. I'm not endorsed. I'm just endorsing them because my personal successes we realize through them. And so now I've given you 3 of my giant secrets, haven't I? I've given you BombBomb, I've given you Signpost, and I've given you Lead Pops. Those 3 technology firms will help you find a presence that's not easily found for most, but we all want to be there. If you'll Google search Los Angeles mortgage broker, you'll find me on page 1. You Google search Scott Griffin, no matter how you spell it, you'll find me all over page 1. I find that being everywhere is valuable. And having people share their stories about their experience with you is even more valuable than you trying to tell people about what their experience will be like. Let other people share theirs. Give them a platform, whether good or bad. Make it authentic, make it available. And if you're awesome, beautiful things have the right to show up.
Well, Scott, you, my friend, are awesome. You've given a lot of really good secrets, a lot of them. So again, thank you for coming on. And guys, you can also ask Alexa for a mortgage broker in Los Angeles, and you will get Scott Griffin. I've seen the proof of it. And honestly, if you'd like Gary Vee, this is a man that said, unless you're doing what Scott Griffin is doing and you are the one that is given by Alexa, you are failing, because eventually that really will be the application process. Alexa, get me a mortgage in LA. Okay, contacting Scott Griffin. Well, holy shit.
Yes.
And as I'm saying this, I'm shit you not, Alexa behind me is saying, okay, I swear to you, you guys can't hear it because it's the Alexa puck. It is literally saying, okay, Scott Griffin, LA mortgage broker. Behind me.
That's terrific, you guys.
Unbelievable.
Isn't that something delicious? Isn't that great?
Thank you again. Authenticity, technology, consistency, smile, smile, be a good person.
There you go.
Show up for life. Be ready for it. Thank you so much, Scott.
No, thank you, my friend.
Until next time, you're going to come back on.